Well done. Well done. That's all I have to say. Well done. Well done to Jamie Rayner. Well done to the independent fans group and the City event and every one of you fans. Most of yous. Some of yous are idiots. But the majority of you fans, well done. And well done to David Sharp, because that fans forum was 10 times better than last year. Not just because of where we are, but that has everything to do with it, of course. If where we were last year, when we were 18th, when last year's fans forum was taking place, it would have been a disaster like it was. So obviously, if you're doing well in the league and results are there and recruitment's good, then you're gonna have a interesting, quite informative and something that you can take. Well, informative is something that you can learn from, because that is information. Informative, it's information that you gather. It's something that you can look at and go, well done. So well done to everyone in the football club, because doing everything right. I have to say well done to Ryan Sparks as well, because very impressed. And I didn't think they'd get vetted, because they didn't last year. There were tough questions asked and they looked like fools. Not Graham Alexander, but Stephen Gent and Ryan Sparks. They looked like a two pair of fools. They looked like Bill and Ben, the Flower Pot men. And they sounded like them as well, with all the and all the I don't knows and the drivel they came out with. That's what I called it last year. I'll put the thing on the end of this video, last year's. If you want to go watch last year's fan forum reaction from me, that's only if you want to see the complete difference in how the football club is now and where it was then. Change happened. David Sharp came into a building. Stefan Whoop is coming to the MK Dons game, and he's already been to around 3 or 4 home games this season. He's invested more money. You can see by the recruitment that we have a vision and a plan and a proper structure. He ain't going to invest heavily in terms of what we learnt more. Training ground's not going to happen anytime soon. It won't whilst we're in League 2. That's definitely not going to happen. When you look at other League 2 facilities and training grounds there, there's not a big difference. It's not a huge problem, and I don't think it is. It's just not ideal, and that's what they said last year. And to be fair, I criticised that, and this year I'm not. And to be fair, last year I've changed, because you probably tell by bad moments this season I've been 100% behind Alexander, because he is the right man, and if you have the manager you believe in most other things as well. Unless they lost faith in Alexander, then that would have been complete curtains. But they've stuck for him through tough periods this season as well. But I don't have too much of a emotion now. There's more important things to worry about and to think about as well. Don't mean I don't care as much. It just means I'm not gun blazing as much. The stadium, in terms of Stefan Wood buying Valley Parade. Now, I was never too completely sure whether I wanted him to, because would it be in Stefan Wood's name or would it be in Bradford City's name? And basically, that's the wrong video. Basically, they said that it would. They don't know. They don't know if it was going to be in Stefan Woop's name or Bradford City's name. And if it's in Stefan Woop's name, then what's the point? We then would have the same situation as we do now, wouldn't we, under Gordon Gibbs? So that would help us with rents, because they're sky high, they're through the roof. Ryan Sparks basically said that is something we're struggling with. The minimum wage is going to add to that problem. Like most things, it will, with that going up, because then obviously stewarding, that they have to be paid more, catering staff, bar staff, all those staff in the ground, their wage rise has to go up. And the way he was talking, I've got a feeling, I basically think season tickets will be going up again due to that, and I think definitely if we go into League One, they definitely will. Probably still would be one of the cheapest ones in the AFL, which is still great, but I think they'll definitely be going up again this season, and they'll use the season the minimum wage as an excuse to that, and that costs are going up. But the stadium was promised by Stefan Rope. I'm pretty sure he promised that he will buy the ground, and basically it has stalled. It hasn't really progressed since Stefan Rupp and Gordon Gibb met in Germany and were seen with each other, and it was progressing, but it seems to have regressed, or at least stalled talks with that. So that is disappointing, but it wouldn't be a priority but obviously something that would help us massively if we could get our own stadium in our name. And he also said the Bradford Council are not going to help us with that pretty much, and aren't going to help us with anything. I think that they're going to give us like 2% in terms of everything that they're putting into the city. Less said about them, the better, I think. I'm sure everyone will have an opinion, but what a waste. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, that they're going to try support us, but they're not going to support us. And I did fully 100% agree with what Ryan Sparks had to say about them, with the culture and everything to do with that. That if Bradford, the sporting city of Bradford, if Bradford Bulls and Bradford City are doing well, the city is vibrant and it's inspiring, and that's the only reason people go. One of the reasons why people go to Bradford Town Centre. It brings in 17,000 people every other Saturday, and it gets people spending in Bradford because there's so many people coming to a city. And if it's doing well, then the Bradford city is going to be thriving. The last time Bradford as a city was not necessarily thriving, but when it was successful and it was going alright, was when Bradford Bulls and Bradford City were being as successful as they were. Them two fallen, and the city has as well. So it's a huge part of the city, and I think they'd be foolish not to try and support the two clubs and to try and form really strong relationships and further enhance the support. Harry Lewis and Jake Young, the money that we got from them went straight back into the budget. Apparently, I won't disagree that it went straight back into a club in somehow because of how much of a loss we're making. It would be quite foolish of Stephen Rupp to then put it into his back pocket if the amount of money we are losing is to be believed. And when you look at the squad, Huntington and Evans came in mid-season and we got rid of Evans. Other loans, we have gone quite heavy in a strong squad with big names to try and get us over the line. Something else that I was very impressed with as well, we've gone away from a sustainable model. We're not going gung-ho, we're not splashing the wages. We've got probably a top 7 wage budget. I think David Sharp had a sort of estimation at, and it probably is. But he said we sort of had to move away from a sustainable budget, because if we still had that, we wouldn't be anywhere near where we are now. And he had to have a strong word with Stephen Rupp about that. And and something else he said was he has a flexible budget. So when we were getting asked about League One, which is a concern of mine, if we go up to League One, will we have a strong budget to avoid a relegation battle and to go back to where we were? Or are we going to be fighting relegation? If not, go down and then struggle to get back into League One like we have all these years in League Two. So they were concerns. Having a flexible budget, what does that mean? And then he said about the dressing room being strong, having a good team spirit, having a good dressing room with good players, that's something that we'll need, that Bradfordian grit. So that's sort of sugarcoated the fact that we probably aren't going to have a big budget and we're going to have to be prepared to roll our sleeves up and fight, which isn't exactly promising. To David Sharp, if we're looking in Europe to sign players with other League 2 clubs and League 1 clubs doing so, and he said, he mentioned Norwich. Yes, we're looking in Norwich. Anyway, he did say Norway, not Norwich, Norway and Hungary, which I thought were a bit weird to highlight them two countries as examples of where we're looking. So, and he said particularly for the striker position. So that would be interesting, and it is interesting. But he did talk about it being a high risk. He signed foreign players at Wigan and it failed more often than not. So it's about getting the right player, the right balance, and yeah. But it's a good market. It's where we are looking in that area. And something else, watching that Sporting Life, it just came to me as well. The only interesting thing really, from what we don't know, but outsiders, it'd be good for them. Apparently Stephen Gent doesn't watch our games anymore, which I'm so bloody glad about, because last year at a fans forum we got told that Stephen Gent watches our games, and now he watches the first one after the deadline day, and then he goes back to looking and watching other players. And I thought that was such a stupid thing. Why is our head of recruitment watching our team? So I'm glad that that's something that we've stopped now, and that is again looking to do what a proper football club does, not having their head of recruitment sat watching their own team. Ryan Sparks got asked about Sharp coming into the club, and he said he didn't have the resources, the money, to bring in a David Sharp or a head of football operations previous to Sharp coming in. And he went up and they had a conversation about it, and he made some room to bring in David Sharp in. And then he also confessed that he probably slowed down the business operating football sides of us. I guess that's probably down to recruitment more than anything, slowing down our recruitment, because he's got commercial to look at, he's got to oversee everything. Whereas now with Sharp in the building, they can sort of share the role, because when Sharp got asked about what he does, he oversees sports science, recruitment. He don't watch any of the games. I remember we were there for, I think, the first game, so he might have been there towards the back end of this season, but since the summer, pretty much hasn't been to any of the games. He has opinions on contracts, judges players off the contracts, the money that they're on. And he structures for the long term. He spoke about a 5-year plan previously to Jamie Rayner, and he spoke about it quite a lot last night as well, which is very intriguing and very positive, because we haven't had a plan, we haven't had a structure. And under David Sharp, there's been a clear identity, and with Graham Alexander as well, because obviously Mark Hughes, he got blamed in the last fans forum because of the inconsistency of play we brought in his last summer, because he changed formation, he changed the way he wanted to play. And I think that there's something to be said for that. Alexander hasn't. Yes, he's adapted. He started with a 4-4-2 and then went to a 3 at the back with 2 up front, like a 3-5-2. Then he changed to a 1 up front. Then he had 2 wingers. So he has had a different variation of a back 3, but he's had a consistency of having 3-4 strikers competing, having the 3 centre-backs. That's how he stayed, unless we've had the injury crisis. Energetic midfielders, whether they can play deep like Patterson and Sarcevic can, and play as number 10s, and your 10s have to be energetic. And that's what David Sharp says. Pretty much his plan, how he sees Bradford City playing, beyond Graham Alexander being here, is high pressing and relentless, and that's what he wants the first team to be, and the players who are competing to get into a team. And I think you can definitely say that for the attacking midfielders. Lapsley's coming, Keller's coming, Tommy Lee, they're high pressing players, they're energetic players, and that is how we play. So it's great to see that we're bringing in players who suit the way we play. They might not be quality players. A player like Callum Kavanagh, he hasn't got much quality. We also can admit that. I think even Graham Alexander would if you asked him personally. But what he's got is grit, he's got energy, and he's got desire, and that's what we are. He sort of embodies us as a team. So you can sort of bypass the quality because he has what we are as a team and as a team spirit. And that's what David Sharp's seen, and that's what his opinion can keep that. Whereas before, I think other people's opinions can get lost. And Alexander knows what he wants, Sharp knows what he wants, and so we all know what we want as a football club. And that's something that's changed. And then something else that Sharp said, he said in League 1, we will go younger. Experience is key in League 2, and it's key in the higher levels as well. You need experienced players to get you through games like we have done with the recent 1-0s, but when we go into League 1, we will look at a younger type of player, like Stockport have done, getting rid of the older players like Sarcevic and Neil Burns, and replacing them with younger players who are hungry and can add that energy and enthusiasm. And hopefully we will be able to get a higher class of player as well. We've been in League 1, so I felt that were interesting, because I'm not keen on going too young. I'd rather have more experienced players than younger players, like we have got. So I'm not sure what to think of that, but a lot of people would be encouraged to hear that. Ryan Sparks said he's not too aware of criticism. He don't go on social media often, so he don't really read or see any criticism, which is interesting, because definitely at the beginning of his time at Bradford City, he was on social media. He was reading criticism, and maybe that's something he don't do now, which is interesting. It did come across much different, I must say. It came across much more mature, much more engaging. He spoke a lot better, Previously, he does the bass lines. You know, he does the not baseline. he does baseline. There's Ryan Sparks. No, he does. I forgot what the flipping word is. Can't think of it. You know what word I'm on about. You know, the stay up, don't go bust. He's very good for a headline. He does the we do not accept mediocrity. He does all that. Leaner and meaner squad. There wasn't really too much of that. It would he was quite careful in what he said, and I thought he spoke really well, to be honest. And I hadn't said that, and I hadn't heard Ryan Sparks speaking like that. He came across really well, and like he knew what he was on about, like he knew exactly what he wanted to take from it, and that was the same in the Sporting Life one as well. So very, very encouraging to hear Sparks speak like that. Stephen Gent obviously didn't get media trained for his previous one. Maybe that's something Sparks has had, but he spoke about being inexperienced, being quite scared, fearful when he came in, but excited. But he was going to be. He was the youngest CEO in England, in the top 4 tiers certainly, and obviously there's going to be nerves and fear when you're walking into that environment where we were as well. But it didn't seem to ever fade. You know, like last year we were 18th at this point. We were nowhere near where we wanted to be, and all he could say was, well, we got into the playoffs last year. That was a success. And we're so far away from it that year. So that was frustrating to hear those sort of things being said. Whereas there didn't seem to be that need for panic when he spoke. So I was quite impressed with Sparks, but it's alright when it's going well. When it hasn't gone well, that's where I've been critical because of how he's handled that. So there will be more tests, but you know, he didn't shy away from. He knew that was going to happen, and he ain't going to talk himself up if it's going well, and he ain't going to if it's going bad. But he has done that before, because last fan forum he did speak about all the good stuff he's done, rather than really accepting why we were failing. So he did seem more experienced. He also accepted that we don't have much assets as a club. The training ground, the ground, players. We don't have too many assets as a club. That's something that we're looking to try and get. You've got your academy players coming through who are growing assets, like the one who went to Wolves and then went to Liverpool. Many others who've gone under the radar. We had one who went to Brighton, one who went to Nottingham Forest, and they are others. Bobby Poynton. But there's not many assets, and the asset is the supporters, and they recognise that. And then a concern of mine, this beautiful badge is going to be revisited. It will be revisited. Someone's saw it on websites, wherever, sort of a new look badge sort of thing, or on the training kits, and Sparks didn't really sugarcoat it, and he said we will look to revisit it. Hopefully it's in the survey again, so I can completely write it off. But it probably looks like that will happen. The kits for next season are in the works. He said the home kit definitely clout and amber, which is always what you want to hear. The away kit is best he's ever seen. I think he says that every year about the away kit. He loves the away kit. I think he just don't like clout and amber, to be honest. Anything that's clout and amber he don't like. That's why he did try and go away from it in 21-22, his first full season. We didn't have a clout and amber home kit, and it was an away kit, so he loves the away kits to Spark. So I wasn't surprised to hear that it's the best one yet again. But they're already in May going to be looking at the 26-27 kits, which is positive, and Macron have done a great job so far for me. But the highlight of it, well, it did make me chuckle a bit, was when Alexander mentioned Keller. He said he came to him and said, you don't have an under-21s. And then Ryan Sparks went back to that after the question was asked, and he said, very interesting. No, he said, interesting. Very interesting, that on Brandon. I'll have a word with him. I thought, goodness me, that sounds like a headmaster. Teachers called on a pupil, said he had a word with me about how about the running of the school. He didn't like the playground structure, or something like that. He's told the headmaster, and he's like, very interesting. I'll be having a word. He'll be in isolation all day tomorrow. and he'll be doing much more homework. He'll be getting weeks worth of homework, and he'll be getting a week's worth of isolation with Brandon. It seemed like that, so it made me chuckle. I don't know if you realise it, but you have now. So that's where I'm going to end it. It was a good fans forum. Credit to Jamie Rayner, credit to the Independent, and you lot, everyone who attended the protest in Tranmere, because we've seen the difference on the pitch, we've seen the difference off the pitch as well. Long may it continue. I look forward to Tuesday, going to Birmingham. Nice to get back-to-back semi-finals in that crappy cup that isn't crap anymore. I think it got to this stage last year, and it's like it's not a crappy cup anymore. It could go to Wembley, and that's how we feel now. So it'd be great to beat Birmingham, 2,000 fans, which is great support again. And we'll see where we go. We're all expecting to lose, but when we expect to lose, we normally pull up an upset. So hopefully that can happen. Let's make more history. Sorry about the lack of videos, but we'll see. I'm not going to make any promises. I'm back. I'm going to be back. Guess who's back? I'm not making any bloody promises, because we all know I'm going to go through another stint where I don't do a video in a couple of weeks. But thank you very much for supporting, because I did listen back to last year's fans forum of my video, which I don't like doing, but just to rejig my thoughts from last year. And 260 subscribers I just hit then. So in a year I've gained over 500. So that is massively appreciated. It don't go unnoticed, so thank you very much. If you are new, or if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It is massively appreciated, and it is free. If you don't realise that, it is free. It's just one click of a button, and it does make me a lot better, and it does it gets me towards making money, basically. Like the video if you did, subscribe if you're new, and comment. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Have a good one.